Okay, Geek Stackers, here we go, entering back into the unknown geek space. It has been, what, 2 weeks?
Just about, yeah.
Since we recorded
the
episode?
last podcast we recorded ended up being a flop because something was going on with my camera where
Yeah.
it just looked pixelated. And we want to bring you guys the best content we can bring you. So we had to postpone.
That's what we're trying to do.
So I just came in real life.
Yes, that's what we're doing. So what we were discussing in the last episode that you never got to see, we were
maybe I'll upload some clips if they're good enough.
Yeah. We'll try. We'll try to do this. We'll try to get it right this time. But we were talking about. Well, one thing we were talking about is the Rippaverse.
The Rippaverse.
It's hard to have any geek conversation right now, in my humble opinion, especially if you're talking about comic books and not bring the Rippaverse up. But you're gonna take the lead on this one because you went to an interesting con.
Oh, I should have brought the
comic book.
I should have brought them with me.
It's okay.
I didn't think about it. I should have brought them with me.
But tell us about your experience at this con. You don't have to say what specific con it was, but
oh yeah, that's a good idea.
What was your experience, and tell us about the comic books you saw while you were there.
I went to a con recently. It was an anime convention. It was relatively small comparatively to the ones I've been to. And it was pretty decent. It was pretty cool. There were some cool vendors there. And two particularly caught my eye back to back, which was insane. Right. So the first dude, I look at his art, I'm like, is that manga? And it was some very interesting art. I'll have the link to his Instagram in the description of this video. But it was actually some really decent art, and his manga was good, and the story was really good. And the art was like different. Like it was like an American made manga, but it was like close enough to the original style that I was intrigued. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty dope.
What was the name of it?
I'll have that in the description.
Crickets.
I'll have that. I'll probably find it if I look his Instagram up. But it was actually pretty cool because I like the art. And like number one thing that stands out to me most of the time when I look at something is the art good, right? If the art isn't good, I'm gonna just like sign off. Like I'm not looking at this. Like I'll look at it for a second and then that's it.
I think I'm the same way. That's one of the reasons.
You're just picky. The art, no, because I know you. The art for you has to be absolutely superfluous, or not superfluous, but absolutely perfect.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
I'll say that.
I don't think Rippaverse art was perfect. It was pretty good though, in my humble opinion. It was pretty good. That was some of the better art I've seen in the current generation of artists. In my humble opinion, again. Art is somewhat subjective. People like what they like. Some things are good. Some things are very enjoyable. Some things are just objectively bad. Just
like those two panels I had in that one short with the Batman thing.
Oh
some
my
of them are,
goodness.
It was hilariously bad.
It was really, I think this constant need or the need some industries have of acceptance of everything kind of makes the art mediocre, in my opinion. I think you should be able to tell an artist, look, spend some more time with your pencils, get your game up, and then come back to us in maybe a year and a half. I really think a lot of artists need to hear that.
If I clip this, I'll put the comic book picture like in the clip because I can't. His name isn't in its Instagram. And the comic book isn't either. And I'm like, like he has pictures of it, but not in the
name of the
comic
comic
he's still
book.
working on the site.
Now, wasn't the name of one of the comic books you saw Ninja Nico? Wasn't that
Ninja Nico? That is okay. I'm getting a little loud, but that was my favorite one. Nico Smith.
Nico Smith.
He used to do martial arts, and he pretty much wrote the story about his exploits doing martial arts in the city. Up until the last part where it actually becomes a comic book because there's powers involved and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I haven't finished the comic book, but what was the name of the dude? I think it's G. Carlos Espinosa.
Giancarlo
Esposito.
I can't ever remember how to pronounce his
Gus
name.
from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, y'all know who he is.
Right?
Moth Gideon.
So
Giancarlo Esposito, I think that's how you say his name.
Nico Smith, the artist or the creator of because the artists are different people, but the creator of Ninja Nico actually got the blessing from him to have him be the face of his main villain in the book.
which is
dope.
That's dope.
That's really dope.
Yeah.
And it's actually some really good art. He said he got the artists out of the Philippines, and they're just happy to be involved and like to do something with their art.
Let me tell you,
it was some really decent art. Like I'll put some of the panels on the. Well, I mean, I'll have a short of this, but like the art is actually really decent, and the comic cover that I got ended up being like a remake of Nas's Illmatic album, which I thought was crazy good.
That's fire.
I was like, oh, that's hard. Yeah, I noticed I'm peeking too. Yeah, but I was like, that is like, it was really cool, and I think that the Rippaverse has kind of opened up a Pandora's box of sorts, where ordinary people are like, wait a minute, I can make a comic book, because the comic books now suck. So it'd be so easy to just overtake like that whole industry. And if Eric July somehow watches this video by some stroke of luck, right? If you're seeing this, you should look into Nico Smith, Ninja Nico. It is actually really decent, and I think it would flow very well into the Rippaverse. That is my opinion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be
connected.
Yeah, connected, but
into it would be
maybe they could,
beneficial.
In the future work together or something like that. I mean,
yeah. Oh, I have some of the art right here.
Yeah,
but
independent artists, they really. I'm not gonna say independent creators need to get together.
They should.
But
it would be more beneficial for them to do that instead of doing their own thing continuously.
I'm cautious because I don't want them to recreate exactly what we have now.
Or it's like the cabal of people who orchestrate what's good and what isn't.
The gatekeepers.
So I think that gatekeeping is like a double-edged sword, right? There's good gatekeeping and bad gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Right? People who've been in the industry for a while, who understand what works, good story, good art, that should be the type of gatekeeping we do. But not the gatekeeping where it's like, oh, well, you don't subscribe to this ideology or this ideology, so we're going to fire you. That's the type of gatekeeping we don't need.
Okay, so let's, before I forget about this, because I think we talked about this on the Never to Be Seen episode with a bad camera.
Yeah.
We talked about Nintendo and the the Arkham trilogy
coming to the Switch. There's a podcast previously that we recorded where I said it's never happening. I'm eating my words right now. I was wrong. I was really surprised when I saw it on the direct. I was like, my head exploded. I'm playing all those games again. It's an amazing trilogy, and it's the antithesis of what Batman is. Like, there has never been a more accurate representation of Batman as a character. Even in the movies, I'll say. Even in the movies, the game,
wow,
like that. I'm
that's a bold statement.
I think that obviously previous generations understood the importance of Kevin Conroy's Batman because they grew up with the '90s TV show, and the games, the Arkham games, introduced that Batman to a new generation of kids and gamers and nerds, and that is I think that's what substantiated him as the Batman. Like, obviously the animated series did as well, but
right, no doubt,
that did it for a different generation of people.
Okay, I can go with that. What do you think? What's Nintendo up to?
Who knows?
I can't call it.
Nobody can, because if you call it, the Nintendo Ninjas will be outside your door, like.
Oh, you think so?
I think so. Oh, I know so. I know there's been stuff that's happened where Nintendo sent their ninjas after, like, at people's doors. I'm like, yeah. So you're either gonna stop saying what you're saying, or you're gonna be sued for $84 million.
Okay, so we have no previous knowledge of anything Nintendo has going on. So, in your opinion, if you had to give, let's say, I give you 5 minutes, a 5-minute rant, what is Nintendo up to? Go.
So after the release of the new Zelda game, obviously reaching massive amounts of success, outselling the previous game by leaps and bounds. People love the game. It's an amazing story, amazing gameplay, and it's like they made Breath of the Wild look like a bad game, which is insane, because Breath of the Wild was nearly perfect, right? So they enhanced everything that was good about Breath of the Wild and then added on to that. So they're probably focused more on Metroid and seeing what they can do with that. That's my guess. I would hope they're working on a new system, but it also is Nintendo and they don't care. So they could just not be. Now, it'd be advantageous for them to do that, because if they want to be able to compete with stuff like the Steam Deck, which the Steam Deck is an insane chunk of a system, right? Steam Deck is about this big, about as big as a Switch, can run better games, and people can emulate Switch games onto the Steam Deck at 60 frames per second.
That's impressive.
It is impressive, because I've
not seen the Steam Deck myself.
So my uncle, he has a Steam Deck, and he was showing me it, and I'm like, oh, okay, actually, Like it's
That's interesting.
substantially better. And if the Nintendo Switch is able to do that on a system that you can hold in your hand, but also do the same thing when you dock it, that'd be crazy. That'd be crazy. Now, whether or not they care about this, unlikely, because you remember what happened with the SNES. They relate to the game on that too. So,
well, they were late to the game, but I don't even know if I'd say they were late to the game.
Well, because everybody else was doing, was it 16-bit? Like years before, and as soon as they dropped that, didn't Sega drop something after?
I don't know if everybody. Sega had the Genesis.
Right, and that was the biggest competitor.
Yeah, and I don't think the 3DO wasn't out yet. The TurboGrafx 16, I don't believe was out yet. I believe that was all after the Super Nintendo, but don't quote me on that because I could have my timelines mixed up.
They were definitely like a year and a half late comparative to when Sega dropped their stuff.
Okay, well,
and then by the time they dropped the SNES, Sega was already hinting at something else, but Sega kind of imploded within themselves. So
I think
different story. They got lucky.
Sega's implosion was after the Genesis, though, because the Genesis was a success.
Was the Genesis 16, right?
Yeah, 16. Yeah, the Genesis
because they were gonna
success.
They were gonna drop something else that was better than that, but because of the implosion, Nintendo got saved. Because Sega was about to eat their lunch.
Sega had a couple missteps. I think Sega got a little ambitious, maybe a little too ambitious.
Everybody make games for their system, and it was.
I don't know if that was necessarily the problem, but Sega tried to do too much too quickly. Sega tried to maximize on their 16-bit system, and they moved too fast toward 32-bit. While trying to maximize on their 16-bit system. And Nintendo, for all its faults, I honestly have to say, I give Nintendo props for waiting like they do.
That's true.
With their systems. As much as it annoys me.
That could also be what they're doing with a new Switch or a new console.
It could be.
It could be.
But I think personally, the Wii and the Wii U, I think were pretty much only research vessels for the Switch. I don't think they intended it to do well. I think they were using.
Wii U didn't do well.
I mean, the Wii did, but I don't think they intended for any of those systems to do well. I think it was smoke and mirrors. I really think it was smoke and mirrors. I think they were getting real time research data from the people who used the Wii U, looking at the things they didn't like and the things they did like. Because when you look at the Switch, me personally, what I see is a system that has everything people wanted in the Wii U, and everything people complained about in the Wii U, you have in the Switch.
So I'll agree on the precipice that they fixed upon everything that they did in the previous systems, but I don't think it was a test bed, at least not on purpose, right?
Okay.
I think they were legitimate systems that they dropped, that they tried to drop like good games for, and they learned from those failures. That's it. I think they just simply did what most gaming companies fail to do nowadays.
So what do you think about this? So I don't know who exactly it was at Microsoft, but one of Microsoft heads came out and admitted that they've lost the console war. Now, the interesting thing about that is they're going through somewhat of a legal battle.
Yes.
Trying to buy Blizzard. And it is suspected that they only said this to put them in a better standing in order to buy Blizzard without that purchase being blocked. What are your thoughts on that?
So it was actually Phil Spencer who said that.
Ooh, it's pretty high up.
And I'm going to be honest. If they aren't counting PCs, they probably are losing the console war.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say.
But it might be beneficial for them in a sense of they probably have more leverage in order to get that Activision Blizzard deal. But they definitely are losing the console war. Like most people I see, they'll get a PS5 before they get an Xbox, or they'll get a Switch, or they'll build a PC, right? The Xbox is kind of out the window because of the sins of the Xbox One, where they try to make it more of an entertainment system and they focus less on gaming and dropping games. Like you look at every other gaming system, every other studio right now, they have something crazy dropping within the next year. Nintendo, Tears of the Kingdom, the new Mario game, right?
That new Mario
Sony,
game looks hard.
God of War, the new Spider-Man game.
Yeah, that's
the Wolverine game coming out at some point
in
the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, it's
right?
gonna be a hit.
So every other gaming system has something dropping, and you know, Xboxes could have been Halo if it wasn't so piss poorly managed.
That's a shame.
That would have been their game, because that's always been their game. but because it was so mismanaged and not given the care that it needed, at least in the spots that would have made it a more popular game among Halo fans, they're SOL. They're crap out of luck. So they're kind of seeing the repercussions of not delineating their focus properly.
So do you think this purchase of Blizzard might put them in a better position?
It'll be the biggest acquisition in almost, I think, in history.
In history or gaming history?
Gaming history for sure, but I'm pretty sure the acquisition of Activision Blizzard will be like the greatest acquisition of assets, properties, licenses that like we've ever seen.
That's
second
to
the Fox buyout from Disney.
I don't even know. I'd have to look up purchases and different.
Who they buy it? Was it Fox or was it
Disney bought Fox? Yeah, they bought Fox. I don't think they were able to buy. There was a couple pieces of Fox that had to be separated, if I remember correctly, that they couldn't actually purchase. And I can't. I think maybe Fox Sports had to be separated because I think Disney owns ESPN, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong on that. Yeah, so I think there was some things that they had to separate out.
This is essentially what Microsoft is doing by buying. This is what they're doing. That's what they're doing by buying up Activision Blizzard, because that's going to be a huge acquisition of so many things. Like they have Call of Duty, they have all of the card games, all of what is it StarCraft. It's a lot of games that come in that package.
Isn't
they're literally buying an
World of Warcraft under that?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Like they're buying entire game studios that are part of different game. Like it's like a whole bunch of game studios that they're buying, and it's like
that's interesting.
Because they very well could make the decision to only have Call of Duty on Xbox, and nobody can say anything about it because they own it.
Yeah,
and they said that they're gonna be cool and drop stuff, but everybody remembers when they bought there's a game engine that was really popular back in the day that everybody used.
That Microsoft bought?
Microsoft bought them and we're like, yeah, we're going to keep wait, no, was it Microsoft or Sony? It was either Microsoft or Sony, but they bought that company. Oh, Renderware. That's what it was. So there was a game engine called Renderware that everybody used to make games for the longest time. That was like the Unreal Engine before Unreal Engine, right?
Right.
And I want to say it was Sony who bought them. Don't quote me on that. It was either Sony or Microsoft, but they were like, yeah, we're going to keep dropping stuff for it, this and that. And they didn't. Like they literally stopped dropping updates and they closed down all of the documentation.
Yeah, that's whack. That's whack. That's the only reason I think sometimes all of these companies buying other companies and doing all that. I'm like, I'm not a huge fan.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. It was EA.
Oh, EA.
It was EA.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so they were the ones who bought Renderware, and they were like, yeah, we'll keep releasing updates. Everybody can still use it. We're just buying it. And they kept making updates that they wouldn't inform people on. They stopped updating the documentation to where it was pretty much unusable by anyone but EA. And that is when Unreal Engine 3 came into the fold.
And Unreal Engine is now, it is the standard.
That's the engine.
Yeah, it is the standard.
Unity and...
What about CryEngine?
CryEngine is kind of a niche thing. Like people will make things in CryEngine, but the two ones you'll see the most games out of is Unreal Engine 5 now and Unity.
And the thing I love about CryEngine is I didn't know much about it because I don't keep up with games like that anymore until I played Crysis on the Switch, and I was like, CryEngine, what's this? And CryEngine
is one of the, I will say this confidently, and people can argue with me, especially with the new stuff coming out with Unreal. It is debatable, but CryEngine on average for the longest time has been the best game engine for graphics for a long time.
You heard it here first. I like it. I see what they did with Crysis on the Switch. I'm actually pretty amazed. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how this is possible. How Magic. You're doing this?
So what it is mathematical equations that were created hundreds of years ago that can finally be used with the technology we have now.
Yeah, it is. It is really crazy what they're able to cram into that small game system with a mobile processor, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yeah. Imagine if the Switch had a actual processor.
Man, alive! Look, but in some ways, sometimes I think in some ways that would take away from the allure of the Switch, right? Because they can't pull you in with the best graphics. They have to make their games better, which it's like a handicap and a blessing at the same time.
Think about Nintendo, right? no matter what was going on with the systems that they dropped some really heavy hitting games. Even with the Wii U was garbage. Wii U sucked. Wii U did double wood, right? Wii U did double paper. It didn't even go platinum.
Sold 20 copies.
Right? But they still released some really amazing games on the Wii. Remember the Mario Brothers game?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
That was a great game.
It was pretty good.
The Zelda game they dropped on the Wii U was also amazing. Was it Wind Waker, I think?
Yeah. I think it was Wind Waker. Yeah. I could be mistaken.
But, like, yeah. But the thing about it is, right, they have no problem releasing amazing games. That's just their thing. Like, I'd never have a doubt in my mind that a Nintendo game is going to be good, even if they delay it. If it's something I'm interested in, obviously, because I don't like Rabbids, I'm going to be honest. I don't like Rabbids or Pikmin, but I just haven't played them.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of those.
Most of the time, when they drop their mainstream games, it is something insane. Like, it is something crazy.
Okay.
Right? Like, they have not dropped the, like, people were talking about, like, oh, what if the new Tears of the Kingdom game? I was fully convinced. I remember I said this too. I was like, yeah, it's going to be good. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm fully convinced it's going to be good.
I remember you said that.
It doesn't matter what
you
anybody says.
definitely
Because
did.
Nintendo is, like, allergic to dropping bad games, which is their only.
Well,
when it comes to their flagship titles, they are allergic to dropping bad games.
There's some that people didn't like, weren't as well received. So I wouldn't say they're allergic. I'll say this. Even their bad games would be other studios' best games or good games. So I'll give them that.
Yeah,
So now that you've seen, to kind of take a pause here, now that you've seen, so the episode You Shall Never See that we recorded, I talked about Apple's Vision Pro, and at the time you hadn't seen the video.
I have seen the video now.
Now that you have watched the video, Apple's Vision Pro, what do you think?
We need to destroy it.
It's scary, isn't it?
We need to destroy that thing.
It's scary though, isn't it?
We need to find out who invented it and destroy that thing.
So when we initially had this conversation, he hadn't watched the video, and I was telling him, I was like, "Look, this is different."
If you've ever watched the movie Ready Player One or read the book, we're there.
That's what I said, and
I thought you were capping. I was like, no, there's no way. We're there. We're literally there. That is it. Like. The Nexus point has been reached.
Here's what's funny. Do you remember the cover to the original Ready Player One?
It looks like. Don't you have the book? Can you get the book right now?
I don't think I have Ready Player 2. I don't know where my Ready Player
One's
One
right. I see it.
Do you see it?
Yeah. I'm gonna get up and get it if that's cool.
You sure? Oh yeah. There goes Ready Player One. I think I see it right there. It might be Ready Player One or Ready Player 2. You might have to. Check Ready Player 2. That might have the. We were looking. It's not on a cover. One of the covers of Ready Player One. I'll try to find it. I'll try to find a. If I clip it, I'll put it on there. Yeah. So Ready Player One. Yep. Here it is. I found the image. The book Ready Player One. So I don't know if this was the original.
It looks like because if you've seen the movie, it looks like the VR headset that they have.
Yeah, and Ready Player One.
And the stuff that they're doing with it, with the new M2 chips, I'm like, yeah, people can live their lives in there. That's like,
I told you.
Oh,
so to go back to what I was saying initially when we had this conversation, he hadn't seen.
I'll be honest, I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I was like,
I kept saying, I was like, look,
right.
Ready Player One, we are there. IOI is here.
Unfortunately.
I mean, anything that's created can be used for an evil purpose. The internet, the Gutenberg press. We went from the Gutenberg press to, all kind of things being printed that's not necessarily savory. So any new technology can be used for a purpose that we don't like.
What gets me is you have stuff like this that like it's literally like stuff out of like fiction books. Then you have stuff like Facebook or the metaverse that goes back to something else in another fiction book where it's like a virtual reality that everybody was stuck in, but that's what they decided to name it. And the fact that it looked like, I'm just like, dude, like I'm both excited and scared at the same time.
No,
like,
I felt the same way.
It's like, this is amazing. This is horrible. Like, that's the two feelings going on in my brain right now.
Like, this is great, but I'm terrified.
Like the stuff that you can do with the environment around you and the fact that it is able to, like, oh my goodness.
I told you. So when we had this conversation, for those you won't be able to see the video because we deleted it.
I'll probably if I clip this, I'll probably put the clip in here.
So when we initially had this conversation, the things that he's saying now is what I said to him.
I wasn't drinking. I was like, because like we've seen VR for so long, and it's not really.
But this is VR with that Apple sauce. All pun intended.
I'm not gonna lie. Apple does this thing that I will commend them on, even though they've been dropping the ball hard for the past like 8 or so years.
Yeah.
But they do this thing where they'll take an already existing technology and improve upon it so much that you don't even remember who created it.
I think them getting into the processor game is what allowed them to take these leaps. I'm convinced that's what was holding them back, because when I bought 2 years ago, I bought an M1 Mac Mini, and this thing, like, I can't even believe how well this thing runs. It runs like a computer 4 times its price. And I'm not even joking when I say that. When I first bought it, I remember thinking, this is magic. How is this possible?
Yeah, I'm debating getting one of them.
Like, this doesn't even make sense how well this thing is working. And I only have 8 gigs of RAM. Like, how is it performing this well? I don't get it, other than when Apple designs something in-house, end to end, they really work out the kinks.
Except for their headphones, because those break after 2 months.
So, yeah, that's it. But again,
even though they bought Beats, and they still somehow make some of the most flimsy headphones I've ever seen in my life.
But I'll say this. What I think is, Apple uses all of the metrics on all the different things that they design to design other things. So when Apple first comes out with a thing, you can't look at that thing and go, okay, I don't like this. What you have to do is say,
it's like,
okay,
what puzzle piece is connected
exactly.
to? Yeah.
Why are they using this? What is this leading to? And I think the M1 and M2 chips and everything they were working with those led to this VR. Because, so what did you think about the whole LED screen on the other side where you can see your eye? I was like, this is
and they can replicate your face when you're doing FaceTime, and it's like you have spatial audio for people who you're FaceTiming, so it's like they're in, like, I'll say I give it 6 years. People are gonna have VR headsets like this is gonna be a normal thing, to be like, oh yeah, let me hop in this meeting real quick. You put the VR headset on, you can see somebody's full body, and you're just like, it's IOI is here.
I told you.
Ready Player One is happening.
I told you.
I'm going to be honest. People who are watching this out are probably skeptical. They're probably like, it's just a VR headset. That's what I thought. I'm like, it's just expensive. Like, nah.
Okay, so now let me go back to something else I said. So initially when we had our conversation, my words to you were $3,500. I don't like it, but I think the technology they put in it is worth.
I understand it now.
That's exactly what
After seeing the video, I'm like, yeah, this is probably worth the car. This is probably worth the used car.
I'm telling you, Apple has a way of making you eat your words when you actually view their devices and watch what they do.
I thought was the most insane and intriguing is, right, the fact that you don't have to connect it to anything to use it, and it's its own thing, and it has a battery pack. So you I'm thinking of the AR possibilities. I'm thinking of stuff like you could have like a whole warehouse of just like a bunch of obstacles, and you put the headset on. It's AR. You're in a game now that's connected to whatever map you're on. I guess like I am like, my brain's going to like 20,000 miles per hour.
I'll tell you where I went. When they showed the person sitting down watching a movie.
That's how theaters are going to be now.
I'm like, why would you even? Yeah, why? You a couple VR headsets, and at some point, the thing that Apple does is they push the industry forward, right? So they come out with their VR. It's $3,500. Somebody is gonna mimic their technology. It won't be as good, but it'll be good enough that this is usable. I'll
say this because I remember VR used to be every VR headset used to be about that much when it first started coming out,
right?
And now you can get some for like $500-$600.
The only problem is, when does Apple ever reduce prices? That's my.
I don't even think they've reduced the prices on their first generation AirPods.
I don't remember the original price, but I know they're $99 now. Oh no, not the first generation. The first generation, if you can still find a pair, because I don't think they manufacture them anymore. If you can find a pair, I think they're relatively cheap. But Apple themselves, they don't really No, they don't. They don't generally.
Yeah, but somebody else is
lower the
going to find
prices
this
of their-
technology and be like, okay, let's replicate this.
So you would say my comments to you when
I understand now.
yeah,
I didn't understand before. I understand now. I'm like, oh,
this is different.
like the fact that it tracks every hand movement you make, then you don't.
I was like, this is unbelievable.
It's gonna get to a point where people are gonna be on those little treadmill things you see in Ready Player One, and it's.
So I would say two reviews to watch. Well, there's Marquise Browning.
Marquise Brownlee does a really
He
good job.
did, I think, 2 or 3 reviews, and I think Brian Tong, he did a review, and I could tell when he left the event, he was at a loss for words. And Brian Tong is not an Apple apologist. Like, he'll give them bad apples when Apple doesn't do it right.
Bad apples.
Yeah, he calls it bad apples when they do something wrong. And I could tell when he came out of that event, he was like, I cannot believe what I just saw. Like, this defies reality.
Apple just dropped the bomb on him. I'm not gonna lie.
This is where it gets interesting. I know I'm kind of segues all over the place, but this is where it gets interesting. When Apple talked about what they're doing with their M series chips and gaming,
So
I was like,
that's because they did buy up some
this is
smaller
getting-
game studios recently,
it's getting interesting.
and a lot of the stuff they're releasing for their APK for Apple Arcade is actually pretty useful. So I don't know. It could be in the
Getting
future.
interesting.
They could be the person that recreates the Ready Player One game. The was it Paradise?
Looking at Oasis. Yeah, looking at their VR, and then of course they don't call it VR. Apple's Vision Pro. They always have to have
you gotta have
a
some
different name. Yeah. But I give it to them. But this is what I always say about Apple. Other people do it first. Apple does it right.
I mean, touchscreen phones were a thing before the iPhone.
Way before the iPhone. But the iPhone just did it right. Everybody else did it first. They do it right. That's just the way they do business. Not an Apple apologist. There's a lot of things they need work on.
He is an Apple apologist. Don't believe him.
I'm an Apple.
He's been an Apple fanboy since like
2009. Yeah, 2009 when I bought my first iPhone. Look, they just do it right. They just do it right. What can I say?
I'll say a lot of their like processing stuff has been pretty bad up until now with the M1 chips. Because there are phones,
and that wasn't their fault because they were dependent on.
It kind of was their fault for depending on another manufacturer.
Like us.
See, I'm telling you, Apple apologists right there. It is.
Yeah,
there it is.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. There you go. I'm exposed. There we go. So, with that being said, would you be willing to give some more consideration to what I told you years ago about Apple getting into gaming?
Yeah, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah, well, it was more than that.
No?
It was years ago.
You didn't start talking about it because I remember you started talking about it when I was like deeper into school.
It was. I'll tell you how I remember because
you were playing Oceanhorn.
Yes.
Oh, I guess it was 3 years ago.
And it was before you started school.
No.
Yeah, because I started playing.
I don't know because the only reason I remember is because you would send me messages about it while I was in class, and I was like,
okay, maybe it was.
Man, he's having an old man moment.
But yeah, the first Oceanhorn I was actually playing on Apple TV, and I remember thinking to myself, so Oceanhorn 2, the second game, came out. I don't remember when it came out. I think it was after Breath of the Wild, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like a year or two after, like 2021.
Let's see.
Wait, no, it wasn't. Like 2019?
Oceanhorn 2 came out September 19th, 2019.
Okay, it was 2019.
So, and I remember playing this game and thinking to myself, this is a fantastic game. And so I started on my iPhone and I was just like, wow, like I lost a lot of hours. And then I started playing it on my Apple TV and I was like, this is incredible. And of course, now you can play that same game on a Switch and, some other platforms. But the fact that that was on an Apple TV, that was the moment where I said, Apple's doing something under the radar and nobody's paying attention. I think this Apple Vision Pro is going to make everyone start paying attention.
I mean, here's the thing about that, right? Because they've tried to get in the game before where they tried to make a console. That failed.
They tried to make a touchscreen before the iPhone. That failed.
I don't have much faith in Apple, I'm going to be honest. Like the Vision Pro thing, very interesting. very amazing technology. If they market it and do it right, it can be something crazy. But I have no faith in Apple when it comes to creating things that people are actually going to buy and invest their money in. Outside of the normies,
iPhones and Macs.
How many geeks that have are really into like the whole Apple thing? Like most people that are geeks,
I actually know.
Hold on,
quite a bit of geeks.
I'm talking about the new generation. I'm talking about the generation after y'all, right? A few generations after as well. A lot of us recognize Apple's cool for some things, but for a lot of things it sucks.
It's
right?
true.
Like most people who have like a bunch of Apple stuff and they only get Macs, normies. That's it. So maybe for the normal people.
Well, I'm gonna push back on that. And the reason I'm gonna push back on that is people who are generally more interested in Linux will be more willing to buy an Apple and a Linux machine. So I'm gonna push back on that.
No, because I know somebody who's been programming in Linux since he was like younger than me. Android all the way. Most people I know that do Linux, Android.
So,
because there's people I know.
Again, I know people as well.
But think about the age of these people.
It's not just people in my age bracket. I'm telling you, there are people even younger than me who really prefer Linux, and they also prefer Macs because of the cross pollination, so to speak. It's the way Apple's operating system is.
So for PCs,
what do you mean for PCs?
Like Apple for like PCs for like when they get computers or.
No. I'm just talking about people who are into Linux. You're talking specifically phones. I'm not talking specifically phones.
Well, because even outside of that, people who are into Linux with computing and stuff like that, they will buy stuff that's not Apple, run a VMware on Linux or Ubuntu for Windows and or Mac OS.
Yeah,
they'll just do both.
That happens. I agree.
But that happens more likely than people who are actually into Linux who are let me get an Apple. I'm not
gonna disagree with that.
Like most not real geek, but most like geeks who are into computers and into like a lot of the fringe stuff when it comes to technology, they don't walk into the store going like, let me get a Mac. Like that doesn't happen. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm not. So you're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
I think I am.
Yeah, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that these people are exclusively, I'm Mac only. I'm just saying Mac at one point was a niche thing only for normies. This is what I'm going to say. And this is only because I'm into content creation. So this is one thing I do know about. If you're creating content, if you're doing, let's say, audio editing, if you're an audio engineer,
right,
you're not using a PC.
Well, yeah,
I'm not
okay,
saying,
so
now,
stuff like that I agree with.
Hold on. Now, I'm not saying at all. Right, there are audio engineers that definitely use PCs. Right, so I don't want that to be misconstrued as, I'm saying that audio engineers only use. What he's saying. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that to say that it's just a normie thing, I think that's convoluted right there.
No, I will confidently say.
So you're saying that an audio engineer is a normie?
When it comes to the grasp on technology and like. Well, hold on. Let me explain myself.
We will definitely disagree here.
Let me explain myself. When it comes to being invested in technology and the propagation of such, and actually being like, okay, I want something that's like technologically sound. Or I want an operating system that actually will be beneficial for me to use. Now, I'm not saying that. Like their interests are different. The interests are different.
That's right? Okay. So
maybe I don't understand. Maybe I don't understand.
Yeah, you're conveying your.
Maybe
point.
I'm just like.
Yeah, I'm gonna push back because okay, so
I'm trying to realize.
Yeah, because you know the school you went to, and you know the professionals that.
That's why I'm like,
these are not normies.
They're not. No.
These are not normies.
So maybe when it comes to gaming, maybe that's why. Maybe that's the.
And that's where I'll give you your point. When it comes to gaming, Macs are not the way to go.
That's the frame I'm arguing from, and now that I'm starting to realize.
Right, and which comes back to the point of our conversation. Mac and gaming right now,
it's not gonna happen.
Doo-doo, trash for gaming. But what I'm saying is, as Mac is cooking up this stuff, as Apple's cooking up this stuff with these M series processors, it is getting really interested in these technology streets.
It is.
It's getting.
I'll admit I was wrong about my previous point, but as of now, For gaming, only normies go for Mac.
Oh yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you 100%.
Definitely for audio and editing, Mac is the way to go.
I wouldn't say the way to go. I'd say more people than not use
because
Macs.
like the types of editing software you can have on Mac and how they create their operating systems is more catered towards content creation.
It is.
Such.
It is definitely for sure. And there's content creators that just don't like Macs at all. And
right.
They use other things.
Yeah. Some honorary gamers.
Yeah.
It's Mac and Windows. I understand.
So I definitely won't try to make it seem like, oh, Mac is the only thing that people, audio engineers. You
do have to admit you are a Mac apologist or Apple apologist. So.
I'll give you that. I'm an Apple guy. I like their seamless operations. So we see what has happened with the Flash. It's a crash. It's a dud.
You talking about the crash?
Yeah, the crash.
The trash.
With that in mind, there's a lot of debate about Secret Wars. Is it good? Is it bad?
Talking about Secret Invasion?
Or Secret Invasion, my bad. Is it good? Is it bad? Should you watch it? What do you think? Episode 1.
Episode 1, watch. It's pretty good. There's not much bad I can say about it. I mean, like, maybe some pacing issues, but it's the first episode, so I don't know.
Do you think... I won't call it superhero fatigue because I don't think that's what it is.
No.
Do you think people are fatigued in this sense? We're hearing so much complaining from all sides of the ideological spectrum when it comes to superhero, that as soon as any one group of people see anything that they think remotely is a slight to their ideology on either side, it's like, oh, it's trash. That's it. The whole thing is trash. I hate it.
So I think it's two things. I think it's fatigue on that end, and I think it is the industry as a whole resting on their laurels, thinking that they can just release a superhero movie that's garbage, and just because it's a superhero movie, it'll do good. So I don't think it's superhero movie fatigue per se. I think that certain things are causing it, right? Like if you drop superhero movies that are as good as like the Batman or like Iron Man or Thor, what was Ragnarok, right? People are gonna love those movies. People love the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. There's no superhero fatigue there. There's bad movie fatigue, right? I think that these big wigs in Hollywood and at Disney are like, oh, we can just release a complete turd, and because it says Marvel, it has a superhero in it, it'll do good.
And you're saying people have less of a tolerance for bad movies.
People are tired of that. It's not superhero fatigue; it's bad movie fatigue.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely concede to that point and give you that one.
But to your point, I think it is. There's a lot of people that are tired of seeing like all this stuff inside of the, like, whether it be right wing or left wing. It's like, just make a good story, dog. That's it.
What do your overall thoughts? I'll tell you my overall thoughts, and then you tell me your overall thoughts. Episode 1. Episode 1, I think it was thrilling. I think I can't wait for you to watch episode 2 because there is a scene in episode 2.
We could talk about it next week. I'll have to watch it.
That when I saw it, I was like, is this what I think it is? Like, it could go either way, and I don't know which way it is. And so I'm like, oh, I don't know what to think about this. It's kind of exciting. There were times, I will admit, there were times in the dialogue. So there's a specific scene with Nick Fury and Rhodey that I was like, okay, I probably could have done without the majority of this dialogue because it does feel like they were sarcastically being preachy, the writers, I think, but it wasn't done well. So I was like,
it came off condescending.
Yeah, I was like, this fell flat. I didn't need to see that, but I think it's a spy thriller that I'm actually enjoying personally. A lot of people don't like it. I get it, but I'm just like, man, I think this is getting a lot of grief that it shouldn't be getting. That's just my opinion.
I mean, you said the same thing about Quantumania. Quantumania was a good movie.
I think it was a great movie.
I think that people on the right are starting to become people on the, we talk about this all the time, but they're starting to become the people on the left where they freak out about every little thing. And I'm like, dude, you're just being a wuss. Which get some thicker skin.
I kind of get it because this is how the stuff crept into the geek space. Well, in this sense, stuff crept into the geek space because many of us was like, I don't care, just make a good story. But that stuff started to overpower the stories. And so now you're hypersensitive.
But you do gotta admit, sometimes they are OD.
No, I think people are tired in various ways, and in some of these ways, people are just Like they're just fed up. They don't want to deal with it anymore. They're like, yo, you came from my geek space and now I'm going scorched earth. Yeah, they're just going scorched earth, everything. Like burn the whole thing down. That's what I get from some people. I don't want to burn the whole thing down, but I
want to burn the whole thing. I want to burn the comic book industry down.
Yeah,
burn them down.
To some degree, I was thinking about this a few days ago. I was like, to some degree, I don't want the comic book industry to lose its footing.
That's
and just
the
go
only
away.
way they're going to change.
But yeah, it is.
That's the only way they're going to change what they're doing is if they fail.
It really is. And yeah, and then they'll have that history to look back on, so they'll know, oh, we remember what happened when we infused all of these other things into the geek space. We remember what happened when we focused on everything but stories.
Well, I mean, you're seeing that like slowly but surely with a lot of companies. Like you see Starbucks getting crazy about the whole pride thing, saying we're taking all the decorations. NHL did the same thing, right? And I think it's like, it's not even just the geek space as a whole. I think it's like the whole country where people are finally going like, you know what? We've had enough.
If I come to you for a thing, give me that thing, not that thing plus something I didn't ask for. That's pretty much it.
Like, I want tea. All right, here's tea and a biscuit. Like, I didn't ask for a biscuit. Like,
right.
Yeah, but it's a cool biscuit.
Yeah, no, but I don't care. That's not what I want. Get this biscuit out of here. Just give me my tea.
My thoughts on Secret Invasion, I think it's really good. And it helps to explain a lot of things. And it makes me think about things that you saw in previous movies that you didn't think about before. And you're like, oh.
Right.
Like, in certain movies, he doesn't have that scratch on his eye.
Right. Do you think... so this kind of goes to the drama with Jonathan Majors. Do you think
Marvel... I could talk for hours about that.
Okay.
I'm so pissed off about
All
that
right.
whole
So
thing.
here we go. So we are going to get into a Zeke monologue on Jonathan Majors. Go.
Let me start by saying this. Okay. I don't think that anyone should be guilty before proven innocent. That's not how I roll. Okay, that's not fair. But I'm going to say this loud and proud. Ezra Miller, for 6 months, was raining terror on the inhabitants of Hawaii. Then he came back to the mainland and did the same stuff, going insane. There's video proof of him doing all of this stuff. He's literally video proof of him punching some chick in the face for asking him a question, right? But Jonathan Majors has an allegation that isn't even true. He's the one who called the cops. And when you look at the body cam footage, the cops are literally telling the chick what to say. They're like, hey, just say he hit you. Just say he beat you, right? That's what they're saying in the body cam footage. And when he got dropped from all of these people, it wasn't even proven. It was just an allegation. It was literally just like, yeah, someone said he did this thing. He loses his management. He loses his contract with the Navy. And now it comes out with all this stuff where she was hitting him. He's the one who called the cops. And they arrested him. Like, imagine how terrible that has to be. And for people to just have this, oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, he did it. And you see all these people coming out, especially black people, right? My brothers and sisters, y'all know how often, like, and you know I'm not going to say it, but y'all know how often, right? Black men get accused of things they don't do, and they just get thrown to the wolves. It's like a social lynching, right? Like, everybody was just coming down on this man. You see, like, all these black men like, yeah, I don't support a guy that beats women. He didn't even do it. Then you have all these men that are like, yeah, you know, dudes who beat women are horrible. I hate Jonathan Majors. And they didn't even look into what was going on. And then when you explain it to them, you know what they say? They're like, yeah, but I just don't support him because he beat that. I'm like, bro, I literally just gave you the proof about him not doing any of this, and you're just being intellectually dishonest. This really grinds my gears. Like, this whole thing grinds I think Jonathan Majors deserves every apology from every single person ever that said, like, from every single outlet that was like, Jonathan Majors beat his girlfriend, from every single TikToker, YouTuber, and commentator that's like, yeah, Jonathan Majors beat his girlfriend. He deserves an apology, and that's where the real, what is it? What's that thing they try to get? What is it, like, money from being a slave? What is it?
Reparations.
He should get reparations from all y'all. Every single one of y'all. That's my rant.
Ooh,
this whole thing is stupid.
What a rant.
This whole thing is stupid. No, because I remember.
can tell that lit a fire.
Like, because even after it happened, there was proof coming out that he didn't do it.
Right.
Which blows my mind that people took it so far.
So here's where
my
conspiracy mind.
You think? Oh yeah, you said this earlier. You said this earlier today.
Insert tinfoil hat. If I'm DC and I see Marvel doing what they're doing, making their strides. Now, I'm not saying the incident necessarily was something that was planned by DC, but maybe they kind of fanned the flames and took advantage of it. And here's why I say that. If you look at Quantumania, even with the people that did not like Quantumania, when you couple that with Loki, and I'm surprised the people who don't like the Loki series. I was actually surprised that, like,
I thought it was good.
I don't know if you ever watch John Campy.
I've heard his name, but I don't
yeah, he's known in the media space, and he does a lot of reviews of movies, comic book movies, and things of that nature. I think he's been in that realm for a couple years. He said he didn't really like the Loki series. I was kind of surprised because I enjoyed the Loki series. I generally did. Okay, but let me move back a bit. Let me breathe and get my conspiracy mind on. I'm DC. I see what's going on with Jonathan Majors playing Kang. I know where this can go. This can get big. They can be, even though Marvel has been kind of resting on their laurels and not doing so well, Jonathan Majors can be them coming off the ropes and ready to sling back into action, because with Kang the Conqueror and the Secret Invasion stuff going on and Secret Wars, this is the building blocks for another Infinity Gauntlet series style run for Marvel. Now, if I'm DC and I'm watching that, and now it's my opportunity to strike, because you notice when this thing happened with Jonathan Majors, all of a sudden you start hearing about all of these people from the past. Yeah, we've known about this in Hollywood. We've known that Jonathan Majors was this way. Where'd all these allegations all of a sudden come from? And as his star has been rising, he has been, for the past, I would say 2 or 3 years, the man in Hollywood. Why does all this stuff come out just now after this incident?
A little weird.
I'm just saying, a little weird. That's my conspiracy mind. I'm not saying that is what's happening. See, I'm saying that's where my conspiracy mind goes.
I would do that because DC is doing terrible.
DCEU.
Terrible.
Yeah, sucks.
Like, their animated stuff is still good, but DCEU, garbage.
Yeah, super garbage. So what do you think about the new choice for Superman?
Henry Cavill got scammed.
So I made a video on my other channel, The Thinking, where I tried to give James Gunn every benefit of the doubt in his arguments for why he wanted to go with a younger.
I wanted, look, you know me, I'm a James Gunn fan, but I'm eating my words. I don't.
Yeah, because I was skeptical. We initially had this conversation, and I was skeptical.
What was the point of it's like everyone in the DC Extended Universe wants to do bad, except for Matt Reeves. Like, everybody else is like, all right, what's the worst possible decision we can make? Let's do that.
Henry Cavill, for the life of me, I will never understand why they did not make another Superman movie after Man of Steel.
They robbed him. They robbed him like they robbed John
never
Boyega.
Understand. Oh, man, look, now you about to get me on a rant. Let me tell you why. What they did to John Boyega in Star Wars makes me so mad.
John Boyega's an actual nerd, too. He loves Star Wars.
Now, and tell me this. Who in the audience did not think for sure that his character was getting ready to be a Jedi? We all thought that. We were robbed. Fandom was robbed. And I think they had every intention of making him a Jedi. I really do. Why that was abandoned, I will never know.
I think it has something to do with the director switch.
Look, how many times are these movie studios going to do this to us? We switch directors, so we just scrap everything we had. That's what happened with Justice League. I mean, I can go on and on about this, but yeah, John Boyega, what they did to John Boyega made me almost want to never watch another Star Wars IP ever.
The Mandalorian
that's out. Yeah, but that's how mad I was. I was like, yo, y'all really.
The thing that makes it worse is they denigrated his character in each movie and made his character
worse and worse
in the characterization. And it's like they preach this message of acceptance and wanting to, uplift minorities, and it ends up they make their main character a white woman. Which I have no issue with, but don't say one thing and then do something completely opposite.
You let us along. So several things. Okay, my Star Wars rant. Here we go. Several things. One, you made us believe that what was her name? I can't even remember her name. Ray.
Right.
You
Ray
made us.
Palpatine.
You made us believe that she was the daughter of Han Solo. That's everybody thought that. Everybody who was watching this movie,
the bait and switch in the next.
oh
movie.
my goodness,
Your family is no one.
You made us believe that John Boyega's character, Finn. You made us believe that Finn was force sensitive, and this is why, as a trooper, he didn't want to do the things that they wanted him to do. He had a conscience. There was something pulling him away, and then you just dropped the ball. He became a goofy character. You made this man into a goofy character that didn't really have.
They Jar Jar Binksed him.
They Jar Jar Binksed him.
They Jar Jar Binksed him.
That's exactly what they did.
And I was like,
they Jar Jar Binksed him.
Because the thing about it that makes it even crazier is how you know how the First Order got their soldiers? They would kidnap kids and train them from young, so they'd be loyal to the First Order, which makes him breaking out of that mindfold thing even crazier.
He should have been a Jedi.
I think there's no. Kathleen Kennedy just hates every strong male character to exist. I'm convinced.
Yeah, we could talk about Indiana Jones. I haven't watched it.
I'm not watching that movie.
Yeah.
I already know what's look. I know what happens in the movie. It's
the fact that I'm not interested in going to see an Indiana Jones movie. It really hurts me. I'm just like, I don't even want to go see this movie. I have no desire to go to the theater.
I'll pirate that movie.
I wouldn't do that.
No,
and look,
you
know, I'm genuine. I'm generally not one that likes to play the complain game with these studios, but with Star Wars and just Lucasfilms in general, Disney is doing a terrible job.
A lot of people, even like some of
job.
the voice actors, I forget. I think the voice actor for Starkiller, he made a point of like, you guys are just mad Star Wars didn't grow up with you, and I'm like, listen, I grew up with the prequels. I thought they were decent. Watching these movies as they were coming out in my teen years, like I was a teenager when all this was happening, I didn't like any of them. Like so the first one, I liked. They started off on a good foot.
They did. The
second one
really did.
Confused me. The third one confused me even more. It's like each movie doesn't even go together. It'd be like wearing an outfit where you have like a samurai thing on here. Your pants are ballet pants, and the boots you have on are military boots. Like none of that matches.
Like, what are you doing?
Like it literally does not match at all.
Star Wars was on bad footing for me until the first season of Mandalorian. The second season of Mandalorian, good. This last season, now I don't know this for a fact, but I heard that Kathleen Kennedy had a little more influence and pull. And man, if that's the case, you can tell.
They need to fire her. They need to fire her. I could do a better job at this. I don't even do this.
Yeah, because I was just like,
I didn't watch.
I don't know what's happening. Like, what is going on?
I think it's
at Disney.
I think it's the cool kids finding out about the thing the nerds like and then ruining it, thinking they're cool.
Yeah, because let's go over Disney's missteps. Mandalorian season 3. Again, I'm not a super complainer. I enjoyed season 3. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't as good as season 1 and 2. It just wasn't. I'm just telling you right now, it wasn't. What else? What else have they done that
they fired? What was her name? She was a shock trooper. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Gina Carano.
They fired Gina Carano.
That was
she had a whole show coming, and they were
another
just like,
misstep. Yeah, they messed up with that. Though, look. This is
even the main.
Hold
on, I didn't mean to interrupt, but even the main actor for The Mandalorian, he disagreed with that decision too.
Oh yeah, this is what Disney needs to do. You messed up. You realize you messed up. Now, I doubt this would ever happen. If anybody at Disney happens to see,
we're gonna get DMCA.
This Geek Stack podcast.
We're gonna get DMCA.
Listen to me. Do this for me. I'm not telling you to fire Kathleen Kennedy.
I am.
Hold on.
Fire her.
Let me
today.
Let me be reasonable. What I'm telling you is the control sheet, the creative control she appears to have, I don't know because I'm not there, definitely needs to be pulled. Because in my humble opinion, if I create something, I'll give you an example. My Thinking YouTube channel, it was mostly politics, covered a bunch of things. I covered the Ripperverse once, talked about this before, started covering comic books. I'm getting traction. I get it. My viewers want to see comic book stuff. So you know what I'm talking about now? Comic book stuff. Because that's what the viewers want to see. Now, if I want to create another channel and cover some of that other stuff, I might do that. I might separate that into yet another channel. But the viewers have spoken. This is what we want to see. Talk about comic books because that's what we're interested in. Got it. On it. That's what I'm doing. Kathleen Kennedy, if she is in fact in creative control of everything, I don't know. I don't want to assume. If whoever at Disney has creative control, you are not listening to actual fans. You're like, I don't know who you're listening to. I don't know if it's some board member telling you that their 3-year-old, yeah, my 3-year-old said that's great. You're not doing a good job. You are not doing a good job. You're not giving fans what they want to see.
So listen, unlike you, I'm not being reasonable. I got the pitchforks and the torches. Okay, fire her publicly. Don't even tell her she got fired. Just call her. Call her after you make it public. Fire her.
Oh,
She has done irreparable damage to every Lucasfilm property at this point. It was just Star Wars. Now it's Indiana Jones. Every single Lucasfilm property has been destroyed.
But see, I can't just say it's her because
I will. I don't care.
Does she doesn't have any say over what goes on at Marvel, and they're doing the same.
Well, I'm not talking about. We're talking about Star Wars right now.
Yeah, but it's all Disney. My point is, it's all Disney.
I mean, they fired Bob Iger just to bring him back again, which is hilarious.
I don't know. So I don't know if he wants the control. I think what they need to do is put Favreau in a position where he has creative control at Disney, but he doesn't have to be like overall in charge. But like people have to run things through him. Like, hey, is this a good idea? No, try something else, and then he can go on about his business.
They should just have actual nerds do
Because
stuff.
hey, look, man. Yes, that's what they should do.
I mean, that's what happened with the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. They even had an old documentary about everybody who directed an episode loved Star Wars and was a huge nerd. Like, if you want to make content for nerds, have nerds make the I don't understand how hard this is to understand. Like,
well, son, if you want to bake good chicken, what you need to do is get a dude who makes ice cream for a living. He'll give you the best fried chicken you've ever had in your life. Come on, that's how you do it.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted dealing with Disney and shenanigans. like I just can't. I can't anymore. Like, I don't even watch anything.
I don't. So I try not to be. Except for Star Wars, really hurts me. I try not to be.
Angers me.
I try not to be so deep into the complaint space because I like to focus on things that I enjoy, things that are good, things that are going well. But yeah, when you came for Star Wars and you messed Star Wars up, you hit a button with me.
They messed Luke's character up so horrendously.
Yeah.
Like, it's like everything that Luke learned in the 3 movies that he was in was just negated. Like, they did the same thing to Thor.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
I still haven't seen it.
Is nauseating.
I still haven't seen it. I'm not watching it.
It's nauseating. And unlike some people, I enjoyed the Jane Foster Thor run. Personally, I did. I have the comic books. It was good. They did not do a good job. And I understand sometimes things have to change for the big screen. They did not do a good job transitioning that storyline to the big screen in any way, shape, or form. And this is what I think they did with Thor. What's the dude's name? Taika Waititi. I don't know how to say.
Waititi.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name exactly. Forgive me for that. But I think he took the essence of the Fantastic Four comic book, which was goofy, and translated that goofiness to Thor. And I'm like, Thor was never a goofy character.
Well, but Ragnarok was kind of a goofy movie, and that worked.
It was because the goofiness was muted slightly with the underpinning of what was going on.
Ragnarok,
what was going on in the greater Marvel cinematic universe. So you understood, okay, this is slightly lighthearted and goofy, but there's underpinnings of something sinister going on in the background. So this is enjoyable. I can watch this because of that serious underpinning. Thor, Love and Thunder, it was like, yes, and now to bring you this comedy version of Thor. No, not interested. Just not good. Not good at all. I don't like seriously, personally, I don't know which one was worse. Thor Love and Thunder or the special effects in The Flash.
I saw a clip. My goodness. That is rough.
I think
that is rough.
So when somebody said, I remember somebody said PS5 cutscenes, there's some PS5 cutscenes and game graphics that are better than the special effects in The Flash.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was a joke until I saw the movie. And then I was like, no, this is literally a thing. There are cutscenes on PS5 games and some in-game play graphics that are better than these special effects. That is horrendous.
Yeah, horrendous. I don't think that is the fault of the animators who were in charge of that.
They just didn't have the time.
They didn't.
So I don't think they had the time.
Rush order because there was somebody who actually worked on that, and they expressed how they would rush order everything they tried to get into the movie.
Yeah, see, you can't. The unfortunate thing is, I think the pandemic pushed a lot of. So I'll be honest with you. This is the only area. This is one of the reasons why I will give DC and Marvel both the benefit of the doubt to some degree. I think the pandemic set both houses of content creation back quite a bit.
Yeah.
I believe it did. And I don't know if they ever recovered. And I don't know if they can recover.
Marvel definitely can't. They've already lost too many fans.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
So, and now here's where the excitement comes in. Yes, Marvel and DC have lost many fans, but to independent creators out there, it's your time to shine.
This is your shot to push them out.
It is your time to shine, because I think if there was ever an opportunity for an independent content house, I'm going to tell you what. If the Rippaverse decides to make like a full-on animated series for iSum, after that clip I saw, I was like, yo, this might be very intriguing. And this might actually, the simplistic art style, the dialogue, I was like, I really enjoy this.
Yeah, I thought he was actually releasing the animation. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, oh, a trailer. Okay.
Yeah, I was like
disappointed.
Yeah. But look, I don't know where we go. I don't know where we go from there in the main houses of content creation. I don't know if they can return. I don't know what we do to win that part of the space back. I think we just take it over with independent.
I know what we do.
What do we do?
Get the pitchforks. Get the torches. I thought we explained this already.
Okay, so to end this episode of the Geek Stack podcast, what I'm going to do is have you go on your rant and tell me what you think about games, comic books, movies, entertainment, media,
just rant about anything. You gotta get
general
a subject.
Well, okay, let's say
that's kind of like a vapid thing. You're like, yeah, so give me a rant on all these things. Like,
okay, so let's go because this is your area of expertise. The video game space. What is the health of the video game space, and where do we head from here to end off this episode of the Geek Stack podcast?
All the people who made the game industry what it is and put in all the blood, sweat, and tears to make it something that is so important now are being pushed out and used as examples as what not to be, right? All the people who were there playing Call of Duty back in the day, who actually made content like way back, like 2008, 2010, who were actually buying these games and actually supporting these things when they were coming out and when they needed the most, are being pushed out of the industry by people who don't care and only profit off of everything that makes the game industry worse. And then when people talk out about it, they get their skins taken down, they get banned off of Twitch, or they get ostracized from the rest of the industry.
And on that note, what we're asking you to do is fix the issues. Don't destroy every bit of the geek space. Thank you for joining us.
Fix the issues. Fix the issues.